Hi and welcome back to How to IT. I'm Belle and today we're going to be looking at DaVinci Resolve. So DaVinci Resolve is a video editor that you can use on Mac, Linux and Windows. I'm pretty sure you can even get it on the iPad now. DaVinci Resolve is a free program and it is used professionally in the film industry. In this video, we're going to go through the basics of how to use this program to get you on your way to making your very own videos.
Okay, so now we are over at my workstation. If you need help installing this software, I do have a installation video, so go check that out. I'll leave a card up on the top right corner. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is open up DaVinci. So if we come down to this taskbar, if you've got Windows 10, you'll be able to follow along. Your start menu will just be over here. So start, and then I've got DaVinci up in my pinned. If it's not there for you, I would go to all apps, scroll down until we get to Blackmagic Design, and then DaVinci Resolve in there. So let's click on that and open it. Okay, so this first window that pops open shows all the current projects that you have. As we just opened it, you'll probably just have a blank untitled project up here. I recommend going and creating a new project. So if we go down the bottom here, it says new project and open. So if you did want to open any of these, you just have to click on them, highlight them. You'll notice that they're highlighted because of the red square, and then you just press open. But today we're going to start a new project. Name this project, your video title. So I'm going to be working on my Surface 1 week review. So Surface Laptop Studio 1 week review. Right, now we create. So next we have our open project. So this is our workspace. This might look a little bit scary, but it's okay. We're going to walk through it together. So let's talk about the layout first. Whenever you open a new project, I don't know why, but it instantly goes to cut. Yeah, so I'm just going to take it one step back to media. First, you have your normal file drop-down menu at the top left. So there's file. This is where you can save your project. You can close your project and export your project from here as well. Next thing that is important is the settings. All right, so settings is right down in the bottom corner. If we click that, so we've got the timeline resolution. I'm working with 1080p. You can drop it down and choose what your footage is at, but for this video, I'm going to leave it for 1920 by 1080. We've got 24 frames per second, and playback frame rate is 24. These kind of have to be the same. Otherwise, you might get stuttering and jittering within your video. Don't fret if you don't know what you shot in. Chances are you did shoot in 1080p, but if there is any conflict, between your footage and this program, the program will find it and be like, hey, we need to change a couple settings when you import that file clip in. So don't fret about it too much. One of the last things you can do to make your life a little bit easier and save time is to go up to the three little dots of this window here. So up here, here you can actually save these settings as your default. Okay, so this one right here, every time you open or create a new project in DaVinci Resolve, it'll actually open to these preset settings. So that's kind of a good idea. So we can just save that. Okay, so next big thing to remember in DaVinci Resolve is the taskbar down the bottom. So we're going to talk about a couple of these, and we're going to touch on a couple of these because I don't want to overwhelm you if you're just beginning. So down here we have our taskbar, kind of like in your Windows startup, you've got a taskbar, or even in Mac, you've got the taskbar down the bottom. So this is media, then we've got cut, then we have our editing, then we have fusion, then we have color, then we have far light, and lastly we have deliver. Now if you noticed, each time I clicked on a different tab, it bring up a different workspace. This is due because each of these tabs are to do something different while you're in the editing process. So if we first go back to media, we'll have a look at this layout. So in media, this is where you can import all your footage, your music, pictures, animations, anything that you want to put into your video. This is where we import it. Okay, so a quick layout tour. This here is a preview window. Over here is kind of like your file explorer type thing. So instead of opening up your file explorer down here, you can actually find all your files through here and then bring them in that way. Down here is your media pool. So this is where all your clips that you want in your video are put. And this is audio waveforms. So you get a quick idea of where your audio levels are set. We won't worry about that too much though. So to start grabbing your footage and your files and things. Okay, so the easiest way I found, well, that suits my workflow anyway. I just get File Explorer open, go to where my files are at, and then I drag it over. Okay, so this is the little warning notification that I was talking to you before when we were setting up our settings. So this clip that I just dragged in doesn't actually match the frame rate of this project. So if this happens, just press change. Okay, so we've got all our media. Now we can move on. So if we go down to our taskbar down here, The next one is cut. Cut is where you can cut down your footage. You can also do this in edit as well. If you have a lot of footage to cut and alter, I would use this cut workspace. In this tutorial, however, we're just going to go straight into edit. If you want to learn more about this cut workspace, check out my advanced video that's coming soon. Okay, so let's move on to edit. Okay, the edit workspace. So this is where all the magic happens, and this is where you're gonna spend your most time in. So we've added all our footage, and now we're ready to put it all together. So let's talk about the layout of this workspace. On the left, you should see all your media files that you have just imported over. So over here is your media pool. Then next to this media pool is a preview window where you can view your files. So you have your controls for this preview window. We've got stop, play, reverse, skip to the first frame, and skip to the last frame. Next to this, we have the playback window. So this is where you can see and hear what your final video is going to look like and sound like. This has its own controls as well here. So then last, but most importantly, we have our timeline. This is where the magic happens. So just in case your edit workspace doesn't look like this, if you come up to workspace and you just click it and then show panel in workspace. So we've only got the media pool ticked. So if you've got any other things ticked, untick them and it should start to look a little bit more like what I'm using here. That's just going to keep the confusion down for you. Okay, so let's drag and drop our first bit of footage down into the timeline. Now, I like to use the footage that is my main footage. It's normally the one where I'm talking. That's this footage. So we just click on it and drag it into our timeline here. So first you should notice that there is a video track. So that's the top one up here, and an audio track, which is down here. Okay, so let's talk about the timeline a little bit. So you have your video footage, and you have this little rectangle here that disables the video. So if we click that, you no longer can see the video. This helps if you're working with a lot of video tracks, one on top of each other. Note if you are, the video track on the very top only displays. So it's useful if you want to see the video track underneath, you just disable the top video track and then you can see the one underneath. Same with audio. So all audio gets heard, but you can press mute track and it mutes the whole track. So if you're just fine tuning like your background music and you don't want to hear your talking at that present, you can mute this track and then just work on the other track. Okay, so next you can change how your timeline looks to suit you. So you can do this by clicking up here. This opens a drop-down menu. First, you can change the timeline view options. The first is having multiple timelines. We're not going to worry about this at the moment. I do recommend having the audio waveforms. This is them. So if we turn that off, you can't see the audio waveforms. And I think it's a lot easier to edit using these. The next is video view options. So first is the film strip view. This has snippets of your video throughout the timeline. So kind of like little mini thumbnails of what you're doing in the timeline. If you don't want that, you can just do a thumbnail view. So you have the first screenshot and the last screenshot. And then none. So if you don't want to work with video, you don't have to. I liked the thumbnail view though, or film strip view, sorry. And then the next down here is audio view options. So non-rectified waveform. So if we just cancel all of those, that is what your audio waveform actually looks like. And it can be a little bit confusing. So that's non-rectified. It shows you the up and downs. This is the full waveform. I personally think that's a little bit crowded. And this one kind of like just makes it have like a, if you have like font in Word and you can bold it, that's pretty much what this one does. It makes things fatter. So I like having non-rectified waveform. I think that's quite easy to read. And then lastly, we've got track height. So we can make the video height a lot bigger if we want to. And then we can make the audio height a lot bigger if we want to. So I like them around about there. Yep, that looks good. Okay, next, the next thing I want to talk about is the tools that we have at our disposal. So first one we are going to look at is the select tool, which is this one right here. And you can tell that we have that selected because it is red. So it's highlighted red at the moment. That's the one that we're currently using. This allows you to select your footage and select your needle head. So the next tool I want to talk about is the blade tool. So now we have the blade tool selected because it's red. And this actually allows us to cut our footage. Then we have the snapping tool, which is here. You can tell that it's turned on because it's not grayed out, it's highlighted. This actually snaps your footage together, and it also snaps the needle to the last edit cut that you made. The next one is the link tool. So you can actually use this to link an audio file and a video file together. And so when you move one, the other one moves at the same time. This is always good to get your audio and your video in sync. The next one we have is the position lock. So if you select your timeline and press this, your timeline will not move. So if you select your timeline, so if we get the select tool and we select our timeline, you can tell that it's selected because it is red. If we press this, our timeline cannot move. So I am trying to drag it over here, but it won't be moving. This is a really good feature. Say you have, I'll just unclick that and move it to the start. Click it again. Now I can't move it. So this is a really good feature if you have like editing notes, like as you're recording, you took some notes saying, at 1 minute 30, I don't know what I was doing, cut that out, so you can actually put your timeline, at the start and then move your needle and then cut that specific part out, and your timeline stays there, so you still have the same time codes as your edits, and then after you can put it all back together. So it comes in handy. Okay, so moving on, the next couple of buttons allow you to easily move around in your timeline. So the minus button up here zooms out of your timeline. The plus button zooms in. The next one to that is a custom zoom. So by clicking this custom zoom, you zoom to there. So it's like a little bit more than zoomed all the way out. Next to that is detailed zoom. So if you click this, say, I'll give you an example. So if we click this, it takes us to where our needle head is. And last one is full extent zoom. So if we click this, it'll have our entire timeline in the timeline. So all your all your footage that's in your timeline will fit in that extent zoom. You can also move around your timeline using this bar down here. But I find it much easier to use these shortcut keys. So if you're editing and need to find an exact time, I would use this one. So you can see your whole timeline. Say we want to get to 15, so we're at 15 minutes. And then we zoom in so we can get a closer look. So I want to cut there, and then you delete that, and then we can go back again. So I rarely use this this down here, but it's handy to know that it's there. Okay, so as you probably noticed, wherever this needle is where your video is playing. So I like to think of this as if you know those old records and they had a needle, wherever that needle was on the record, that's what the music played. You know, so I think of that like this. Okay, so now that we've got some idea of how to move around our timeline and a couple useful tools, I think it's time to start cutting our footage. I like to do one piece of footage at a time, so my timeline stays kind of clutter-free. So if we come in here first, this is our main piece of footage. The first step you should take is to just play your footage. So if we come up here, press play, and I'm not even in the footage yet. So let's zoom in a little bit. And it looks like I start talking around about there. So this is the waveform. You can tell that I'm talking here. I'm not really talking here. This could just be background noise. So I might get the blade tool here and cut. Okay. So I don't want this bit. So if we get our select tool, this bit's red, and then this bit's red. So that's how we know that it's selected. So we want to get rid of this part. And to do that, we just press delete on our keyboard. And it's gone. Now see, our timeline didn't move because we have the position lock on. So if we press Control Z, that just undoes what we just did. So don't fret about making a mistake. If you do, just press Control Z and it will undo the last action or the last couple actions that you did. So if we untick position lock here, so we've still got our cut here, and then we select this and delete. See, now our timeline starts at 0. So it's moved everything over. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is find another cut. So it doesn't look like I'm talking here. The audio wavelengths are very low. And I'm not even looking at the camera. So I'm obviously checking my notes. So what I want to do is I'll grab the blade tool and remember, just left click there where we want to cut, and then I start talking again around about there. And then we'll cut there as well. And then select tool, and then we just press delete. So what I just did, there is a couple ways of doing it. So that to me is the easiest way for when you are starting to learn. So if you feel comfortable using shortcuts, here's a couple different ways of cutting and trimming your footage. just a note as well, in the future after my website is finally up and running, I will have a PDF linked down in the description, and you can download this for free, and it's all the shortcuts in one place where to use while you're editing in DaVinci Resolve, so you don't have to memorize all the shortcuts. Okay, so just like last time, we will be taking the needle to where we want to cut. So it looks like I really don't talk there. And it looks like I kind of stuff up there. If you're never unsure, just play.
So let's talk about the keyboard.
Yeah, if you're never unsure, just play your footage. And find different places where you want to cut. So I obviously don't want this huge bit here. So you can always zoom in so we can get a closer cut. Okay, so we have our needle where we want to cut. Then we need to press Control B for PC or Command B for Mac. So Control B. So that's made our cut there. So that's just getting our blade tool and cutting all in one go. And we didn't have to move our mouse. And so then we go to where we want to start again, around about there, and we press Control B or Command B. And so we've got our cut there. That's our cut footage. And then we can just select this and press delete. So we can just select this. Now here we can press delete and that'll move this footage over to here. So if we do that, delete, it removes the gap as well. If we press Control Z, so Z, this comes back. So we just undid what we did. If we select this again and we press backspace, we now have a gap. So in my videos, I still use intros. I don't know if that's good or not, but I like my intro. So I'm just going to bring my intro over into this gap here and snap it into place. Now you can see that it snapped because you can see there's a line going straight through that gap between that footage and my new footage. So that means it's snapped. If I undo that and we do that again, I can actually move this a little bit too far over and it actually cuts some of that footage off. So you just got to be mindful of that. So that's a snap. So that looks good. And then we can bring the rest of this footage and snap it together. Also, instead of just bringing that over, we can actually select this blank space here. So this is actually nothing. So we can actually select that and press delete, and it brings the other footage over as well. Okay, so there's there's another way that you can edit your footage. This way is just using your mouse. So if we see here, I'm not talking at all here, so I obviously don't want this part of the footage. So I'm going to Control B. So if you see my cursor, my mouse cursor, has changed from an arrow to a little blade with an arrow pointing to the left. So if we click, so we're just left clicking and then dragging our footage to where we want to actually start. Okay, so after you've done that and you get the cut where you want it, you can just select it and move your clip into position, or you can, what we did last time, select the blank area and press delete. This is a really good cut to use when you're doing the start and end of your video. Really easy way to cut. So we can do it the other way as well. So if we have a cut here, so we press Control B, or we can use our blade tool and cut there. We can then put our cursor on the right side of the clip and get that same icon and move it over to where we want the clip. So we can fully delete it if we want to. And then again, delete the space in between. So all these techniques that I'm showing you have their own use cases, when you shouldn't use them and when you should use them to make your workflow quicker. I always say work smarter rather than harder. So the last one I want to show you, so I don't overwhelm you with the choices, is called the ripple edit. This is used when you need to cut big chunks out of your work. So if I press Control Shift left square bracket, it removes that whole chunk that was there. So now I've just got talking and then talking. So if I Control Z, which is undo, you can see that it got rid of that huge big chunk. So if we do that again, so we have our needle where we want to cut, and this cut is the section that we're going to cut. So if we press Control Shift square bracket on the left, it deletes that whole chunk. Now we can do the same thing on the right side. So if we bring our needle to here, we kind of don't talk there, so we don't want that part. We can press Control Shift right square bracket and it will delete that part there. If you don't know where the square brackets are on your keyboard, if you locate your backspace and then we've got backslash and underneath that, and then over to the right we've got square bracket right and then square bracket left. So these techniques should help you edit your footage, cut it down, get rid of everything that you want out of it quite easily. So now I'm just going to finish off this this edit. Okay, so now you've got kind of like the main story that you're telling in your video with this footage. If you're ever unsure, really the trick is just to play back your footage and see if it works for you. Like if you're getting your point across, then that's fine. Yeah, so just continue to do that editing process, cutting and putting stuff together until you're happy with a coherent story. So the next thing that you might want to add is some B-roll. So we can enhance our video a little bit with some B-roll. So this is like some extra footage, and it just breaks up. Like if you have a look, this video goes for 22 minutes, and it's just me talking in front of the camera. So to break that up a little bit, I add some B-roll. So there is a couple B-roll footage that I can choose from. So I want this one. So if we just click and drag, and let's put it there. So I don't want this whole B-roll footage. I just kind of want where the ports are. So there's one of the ports. So if we just zoom in a little bit. So if we cut Control B, and then I don't want that. And then ports there, and Control B, and I don't want the rest of that. Now, if you had a look, I actually had this highlighted when I cut. Because if you don't, you can cut your whole footage. So let's do that again. Let's add some more B-roll footage. So we'll add this picture. So this is just a still picture. Let's make it a little bit longer. Okay, so if we go here and press Control B, it not only cuts this up here, but it also cuts our main video and our main audio. So if we press Control Z, undo, if we highlight this, so we know it's highlighted because it's in red, and then we press Control B again, it actually only cuts this top video. If you're stressing about it, and we press Control Z again. If you use the blade tool and say we want to cut here, it only cuts that area too. So there's two ways. If this is simpler to you, then do that. That way you know where you're cutting and you don't accidentally cut out footage that you needed from this video. And one last thing, we can actually cut the footage before we bring it down into our timeline as well. Okay, so we've highlighted it, and then we just need to click and drag onto our preview plane. So we know that we're watching this video up here. Okay, so we can actually pre-cut it to then go onto our timeline. So this is your little needle head. So I want to get the footage of the pen going under. So it's right there. So if we press I on the keyboard, and that creates a little in point. And then if we go over here and we want to finish it there, we can press O, and that's an out point. So right now we've only got from here to here selected of this video clip. So there's a couple options now. If we want the video and the audio from this video clip, we can then just click on the picture and drag it to where we want it. So we've got video and audio of just that little clip of the pen.
I've rendered.
There.
Yeah.
So if we press Control Z, say we don't want the background audio of this clip. We just want the video. So we can come down here. This allows us to just grab the video footage. And this one here allows us to just grab the audio footage. So we can click and drag that over, and see there's no audio clip associated with that footage. And it's the exact same footage. It's just me putting the pen under.
Rendered videos, edited.
Done. Okay, so that's another way of adding some footage to your timeline. Okay, so let's say I already brought this one down, but I don't want the audio as well. So what we can do is make sure it's highlighted. If we click this unlink, then they're unlinked. So I can select this this video clip only and this audio clip only, instead of them both being highlighted together. And then we just press delete. And then we've only got the audio clip there. So that's another way you could do things as well. Now, if you do add pictures, you can always extend these pictures. Okay, so after you've gone through, I'll just turn the sound off. After you've gone through your video and you're pretty happy with it, it's looking good. The next thing that you might want to add is some text. So if you go up to your effects button up here, and we click that, so just normal left click, and then we come down to titles, and we left click that. We have a whole myriad of options that we can do. It's really up to you which one you use. For this tutorial, I'm just going to add some text. I'm going to click on basic title, click and drag. Let's drag it. Yeah, let's drag it there. We can also extend how long the words go on. So let's have it there, and let's start it there. Okay, and so to edit this, you just double click on it, and then it comes up with this little option menu here. So basic title. So this is rich text, basic title. So if we want to change what this word says, we can write bell, how to IT. I use protest paint, and let's change it to my red. That's not my red. Okay, so we can change our color. And now we can actually highlight this. So I just clicked on it, and then we can move it anywhere we would want to. So I'm going to put it down here. You can kind of see that you can't really see it. So what I like to do is if we come down, we can add a background. Okay, so I've changed the color of the background to white, and then we're just going to adjust the height. You can kind of see our background there. Going to adjust the width, maybe a little bit smaller. The corner radius. So if you want, it can be an oval egg shape, or it can have straight edges. I kind of like it a little bit rounded. That's good. And the opacity. So this is how transparent it is. So that's fully, you can't see it. And that's pretty much a solid color. A title. So if you want to add a title at the start of your video, you can do the same thing. Grab text. Let's zoom in. Let's make it last a little bit longer. So let's change this and say Surface Laptop Studio. I might even have them on top of each other like that. I want to change this to my font, and then our color. You can also change the size here as well. So the line spacing. So I want them pretty close together. Yeah, that looks good. And then we can have the background again. Yeah, let's stick with black. Let's increase the height. So it's around about there. I'm going to have this like full circle almost. And then we've created a title for your video. Another one that I use quite often for my videos, if we go back to, so this footage here. So if we see here, I'm talking about the ports in this video. So I like to use a call out. So if we click and drag this on top of, so we click and drag it on top of this video timeline. So now we have 3. We can always make this bigger if we need to, like that. Okay, so this is a really cool feature So I kind of want it to start there. Sample, we can say charging port. I'm going to change it to red, maybe not. Let's go black. You can make it bigger. And we can also change the line color too, so they look the same. Okay, so if we come up here, we've got title and then settings. So if we click on settings, we can actually then change the position of our charging port. So it's actually lined up. So it's actually lined up with what we're talking about on the screen. Okay, so the next thing I like to add is effects to my video. So if you still have effects open on the bottom left of your screen, if you don't, you can always go up here and click effects and come down here. The first thing we're going to do is add some video transitions. Now you can go way overboard with these transitions. I like to use them when I'm cutting to different footage and use them for like text pop-ups and stuff on the screens to make it look better. If there's any major differences from that shot to the next shot, that's when I use transitions. So first, I normally add all the transitions for my text. So this first one, if we have a look, so I might want to start it around about there. So if we play, it just pops up. And probably want to end it around about there. So let's cut it there. So if we play that again, pop in your face, and then it just disappears. So for my text transitions, I like to use cross dissolve or blur dissolve. So this is blur and this is cross. So you get kind of a little preview, if you will, hovering over these. So we can click on cross dissolve and then drag it over to our text that we want to apply it to. Now, if you see there's a white square around the start, and we can also add it to the end. So we'll let go of the mouse there, and then we'll add one to the end by doing the same thing. Now, if we watch it again, it fades into existence and then fades out of existence. And that is a lot better for your eyes and the viewer experiences than just bam in your face. Let's try the blur dissolve. So we can just do the exact same thing, click and drag it over, click and drag it over. There we go. And then we can play that. That looks pretty good. If you want to make this last a little bit longer, you can click and drag and click and drag. So the bigger the square, the longer it will last and the slower the transition. So if you see now it's a very slow transition. So if we make that smaller again, and play, that's very quick now. I actually quite like that. So we'll make this one around about the same. We go to the end here and it's gone. Let's just make that a little bit smaller. All right, and we play. It pops up. Looks pretty good. And then it dissolves away. Okay, so now let's add some transitions to video clips. So if we see our whole timeline here, we have a transition from me talking video to this video. So the ones I like to use for this type of scenario is dip to color and smooth cut. So we've got dip to color here and smooth cut down here. So let's add a dip to color dissolve first. So same as we did with the text, we just click on it and drag it to the start and then drag and drop to the end. So now we have it at the start and the end. If we play this, let's see what it looks like. So now you can change the color. So if you click on the transition, you can see that it's clicked because it's highlighted red. So we've got the dip to dissolve, and then down here we've got color. Be mindful of your viewer's eyes. I personally only really use black and white to dip to. So if we do that now, press play, now it dips to white. The other one that I like to use is smooth cut. So this is just like it fades out the bottom video, so this video, and fades in this video at the same time. So we can just do the same thing. Click and drag, start and end. Now if we move this a little bit that way, and we can see that looks pretty good. Okay, so another effect you can do is to zoom in on your videos. So sometimes within a video, I've actually done it quite a bit in this video, you want to show your viewer something on your screen, but it's actually quite tiny and you need to zoom into it so they can actually see it clearly. Let's do it with this. This is actually not great because it's like cut off. So let's make this a little bit better. So if you come up here and click on video, we've got zoom, position, rotation angle, anchor point, and that sort of stuff here. So if we zoom and we position it just a little bit there. So that's actually taking up the whole screen now, whether it wasn't before. So if we want to do that again with this one, so we just select, make sure it's highlighted, and then we zoom in, and we can actually change the Y position, and we'll make it go down. There we go. So X is left and right, Y is up and down. And that looks pretty good. If you want to actually zoom in on, like say I wanted to zoom in on the actual keyboard on my video. So I've got it there quite a bit. Okay, so if I cut it there, so Control B, and let's say around about there, Control B again. So now we have this clip separated. So we need to highlight that, and then we can zoom and change the position. We'll go up, keep on going up. And so this entire clip is now zoomed in. And of course, we can add our transition to make it look a little bit better. Okay, so we are looking pretty professional now. The video is looking pretty good. We've got all our effects, all our transitions in, our titles, words, everything. It's looking pretty good. Pretty happy with the final product. I like to add some music. So I get my audio from the YouTube audio library. It's easy, and I know that I'm not going to get copyrighted claim because it's from YouTube. Okay, so I've got one audio track here and another audio track here. So I'm going to click and drag these into my timeline. So I want one that starts when that picture comes up. That's good, and I want it to pretty much end at the same time. So if we make sure it's highlighted, press Control B, and we've cut it there. Then select that and delete. So that audio track is going to run while that video is on. And then let's do the same with this piece. Start off of it first. So if we click and drag, so if we make sure this is highlighted, and then we click and drag to there, and then we can drag it over. So now it starts when that picture comes up. That's good. And then we want to end it at the same time. So we'll get our blade tool and we'll cut it there. Select tool and delete. This is also a problem. So I click on this audio track and press delete, but it's actually deleted some of my video. I don't want that to happen. So what we can do is press Control V to undo that. Click on our position lock up here. Click on the audio track that we want to delete. Press delete, and the rest stays in place. Okay, so after I've got my music tracks into place, I like to open up the mixer. So to do this, we go to the workspace tab up here, and we go down to show panel, in a workspace, and then we go over and go down to a mixer. And we get a little mixer down here. So we've got our audio 1, so that's our talking. This one, talking. And then audio 2, which is our music here. So right now our audio 1 is still muted. So we can work on our audio 2 for now. So if we play this music, it's pretty loud. It's like reaching into the sweet spot for talking. So with my talking, I like to have my volume just pretty much in the middle of the yellow. If you reach up to the red and then this actually highlights red, that's too loud and you'll find some distorting. So if we move this downwards, this is going to change the volume for this whole audio track too. Okay, so if we go back and play it now, so it is pretty much reaching minus 20 decibels there. My sweet spot for background music is around like minus 20 to probably minus 35. I'm still thinking that's a little bit loud, so I might turn it down just a little bit more. So if we play it again, so I reckon there's going to be good. And we can do the same for this one. That's pretty good there too. Yeah, okay. So they're pretty much at the same volume on their crescendo. So on the highest part of their music, they're pretty much reaching the same decibels, and that's what you want. So you don't want one piece of music that's overly way too high and then one that's like super low that people can't hear it. You want all your audio levels to be around about the same max, because then people don't have to adjust their volume and things when they're watching it on TV. Okay, so we've got our music relatively good. So if we mute our music tracks now and unmute our talking, and we'll see how loud I am.
Get warm, but it hasn't got too hot where I've had to take it off my lap and be like, okay, I'm worried it's going to explode hot.
So if you've noticed, you can see your really high points. So that's a really high point. So we'll get to there.
The fans.
And it went into the red. All right. So that tells me we have to turn it down because we're going to get some distortion.
It hasn't got too hot where I've had to take it off my lap and be like, okay, I'm.
So that's pretty good. We're pretty much maintaining the yellow and just peeking into the red. And that's pretty much where you want your audio to get. Maybe you got really super excited in a part of your video and that is way louder than another part of your video. So to do this, we're going to add some keyframes to change one section of the audio in our video. So if we click on our video here, I'm pretty loud for this entire section. So we're going to change from here to be quieter. So to do this, we need 4 keyframes, 2 at the start and 2 at the end. So the first one will go around here. So if we see, we've got our volume here. So this is our keyframe. So we're going to put a keyframe in there. Zoom in a little bit. And then we'll put another keyframe in here. Right, so we got our first 2. And we'll go to, let's just go to here. So we'll put another keyframe and our last keyframe. So the space in between the 2 keyframes is how the audio adjusts down at the start, and then it adjusts up at the end. I might zoom in on the video. A very faint line that runs all the way across our audio clip here. And when we hover over it, our mouse turns into an up arrow and a down arrow. So what we want to do is click and drag up if we want it louder. So that's pretty loud. So from this point to this point, right here is growing the loudness of our audio clip. And then this point to this point makes it softer or quieter, and then in level with this again. So that's why we need the 4 points. So that's loud. If we want to go softer, we can just drag it downwards, and that's pretty much no noise whatsoever. So we drag it to, let's say there. We can then hear.
This mode, I normally watch content using this mode because most of the time
it's a lot softer over here. Okay, so that's how we can just change a selection of audio quieter. Okay, so let's unmute our background audio and listen to the talking and background audio at the same time.
I have my keypad and I draw.
So that's a pretty good volume. I can hear the music quite clearly, but it's not overpowering our talking, which is what you want. Okay, so that's pretty much our editing portion. We've got music, text, transitions, video, our audio. I think we're looking pretty good and ready to move onwards. So if we go to the next tab in our taskbar, we have Fusion. Now, Fusion is a graphic designer suite built into DaVinci Resolve. So this is like Adobe After Effects. You can create cool animation, text titles, and things like that. Look out for my advanced video for these features. I'm not going to go into it now. So if we go to the next tab, we have color. Now this is kind of what sets DaVinci apart from a lot of other video editing software. This is where you can color correct your footage really easily and simply. Again, we're not going to go too much into this tutorial, but check out my advanced video on this. And then we have Farlight. So Farlight is all about your audio. So we changed our audio levels in the edit, but you can do a lot more and fine tweak it in this tab here. Again, this will be saved for the advanced video. So now we're on to our last tab, Deliver. So now we are finally ready for Deliver. This is where your project that you have been tirelessly working on becomes a video. So after clicking on Deliver down here, you now have yet another workstation on your screen. So over here on the left-hand side, over here, you can see all these options for exporting your video. So up the top here, you have a couple export presets. These are really handy. So if you're creating content for YouTube, the easiest option is just using the YouTube preset. So it's this one right here. If you click on the arrow next to it, we've got 720, 1080, 1440, and 2160. So this is 2K and this is 4K. We're just going to leave it on 1080p. And then we can give our file a name. So this is Surface Laptop Studio 1 week review. And then let's save it where we're going to find it. So if we press Browse, we can then choose a folder to save it into. So this is all my DaVinci Resolve vids. So I want to save it into there. And that's our file name down there. And we press Save. Now it's not doing anything yet. Okay? So don't think that's done. You also have an option to upload directly to YouTube. I don't do this as I work on many different videos at one time, and sometimes they need to be in a specific order. Plus, I do like to view them before I put them up to YouTube, just to make sure I haven't missed anything in the video. So you can tick that if you want to. I don't use it though. So if we go down to Add to Render Queue down here, and we click that. And then if you noticed, we had a quick pop-up here. So this is actually our project, and this is our render queue. So it's all ready to go. And then down here, we press, and then it's all ready to go in the render queue. So you can actually line up multiple projects at once and have them all listed here, ready to go. And then you can press render all. So this can take a couple minutes or longer depending on your final video size and also depending on your system hardware. So now that your video is rendered, it will say completed up here. It took 4 minutes and 13 seconds. So now we can go to our File Explorer. Go to where we saved it. And it's right there.
In this video,
so we can play it back, watch it back, see how we like it. And then we can just click and drag and upload it to YouTube.
so that was the basic crash course in DaVinci Resolve. How did you go? I hope this video helped you get started making your own videos. I will be releasing a more in-depth video explaining some of the features that we didn't get into in this video. So stay tuned for that. Well, happy editing, and I'll see you in the next video.